He would be in conversation with Mr. Sumit Mukherjee, a renowned sports journalist and Deputy National Sports Editor of the Times of India. Let's hear it from Sourav Ganguly, what it takes to be a champion.
Thank you.
Excuse me?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite difficult to introduce Sourav Ganguly because it's very easy would have been to describe him as a cricketer and a captain, Indian captain, but he wears so many hats, he does so many things, he has done so many, tasted so many aspects of life that it's very difficult to sum up. But I'll try very shortly to introduce him, and then we'll get into the Adda session. In a career spanning 16 years, Sourav Ganguly has tasted unprecedented success and extreme rejection. Among his millions of admirers as Geoffrey Boycott, who gave him the nickname Prince of Calcutta for his regal demeanor on and off the field, and Rahul Dravid, who famously dubbed him as the god of offside, for his sheer ability to caress the ball elegantly between point and the cover to the boundary. As a player, he is not known to have taken a step backward on a cricket field. As a captain, he believed in leading from the front, backing his players to the hill. Blessed with a shrewd cricketing brain, Sourav masterminded many splendid victories that are now part of Indian cricket's folklore. It was under his in-your-face brand of leadership that gave Indian cricket a whole new identity. His bare-chested, shirt-waving act on the Lord's balcony following India's stupendous run chase in NatWest Trophy final against England in 2002 will forever remain etched in our memories, as will India's historic come-from-behind test victory over Ricky Ponting's Australia at Eden Gardens in 2001. Indian cricket teams forever were scared to lose. That explains so many dull, boring draws in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and even in the 80s. Under Sourav, the team underwent a transformation, and for the first time in history, the Indian team was not afraid to win. And this resulted in many, many victories in test matches and limited overs cricket, ushering in a golden era in Indian cricket. But as they say, nothing lasts forever. In Sourav's case, the period between 2005 and 2008, when he finally retired was one of a turmoil. It began with the Greg Chappell era, when he found himself out of the team despite having scored a century and led India to a 2-0 series win in Zimbabwe. By his own admission, it was the biggest challenge of his life to find a way out of the wilderness and reclaim his rightful place in the Indian team. It was a battle he had to fight all by himself. To his credit, he pulled himself out of the depths of despair using the only tool he ever had, his bat. He drew on his enormous self-belief and mental resolve to score runs at all levels, from club to county cricket in England to Ranji Trophy, and forced the selectors to return him to the Team India fold. How he overcame extreme rejection and the pressures of being on trial in every match thereafter forms the basis of his recent book, A Century is Not Enough, which has been well received across the globe. Let's now hear from the man who represent India in 424 international matches, scored 18,575 runs, 38 centuries, 132 wickets, 171 catches, won 30 Man of the Match awards, including 10 overseas victories in test matches. Ladies and gentlemen, over to our very own Dada, who has overcome every challenge that life has thrown at him and come out a winner. Welcome, Sourav. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Firstly, a very good morning to all of you here. And I'm extremely honored and happy to be here at the Times of India Literary Fest, and most importantly, in one of the most beautiful places in Kolkata. You know, when you come here on a Sunday morning, and as I walked in here, I felt that there couldn't have been a better place in the world to be on a Sunday morning, especially in the winter. You know, I travel around the world, I see various places, probably stay in the best of them, but this place here is fantastic. To all the speakers at the Literary Fest, I'm sure it must have been a wonderful experience being a part of it, and to all the people who are in front of me on a Sunday morning, and I'm sure you've enjoyed listening to all of you. So hopefully it'll be a good experience and a session in the next 30-35 minutes.
I'm sure it is. Sort of the session we described as handling pressure. Now, before we get into the very serious side of it, I mean, how do you see how as a youngster who takes up the game? I mean, how do you what would be your tips to him? Like, how does he go about it? I mean, he's already under pressure when he's playing cricket, right?
You know, when you start a career, the pressure changes at different levels. The more you grow, the more you stay in a job for a long period of time, the pressure increases. It doesn't decrease because expectations actually go high. When you're a young boy, and when I started my career at a very early age of 13 or 14, I did not know that the word pressure existed because you looked at life differently. You lived with your parents, they looked after everything, and you just came out in the ground and played. So at that age, when I started playing, cricket was a lot more enjoyable than as it went to the higher levels in the years to come. So when you start playing, you just play. You just play because you love the sport. You don't know where life takes you. When at the age of 14, when if anybody would have told Saurav, you'll have all the stats with which my dear friend Shumita spelled out before the start of the speech, I would have said you must be joking because you don't expect that, you don't visualize that, and you don't play for that at that age. So basically, you're leading a life, to do things which you love. But then, as you grow older, as time changes and expectations arise, the pressure factor becomes a lot more, and you just have to find a way to get used to it. If you want to be the best, and if you want to survive at the top level, which all of us here want to have, we want to have the best job when we are working. We want to be a part of the best organization when in terms of our employments, because it creates job security, it creates good value for your time. If you want to play for the country, then you have to compete with the best. So when you compete with the best, the pressure comes on because there's somebody else waiting who's as good or probably even better than you and waiting for your place. So it's a part and parcel of the job, for any job which you get into. And I think the only way you can get better, the only way you can survive that everyday scrutiny, analysis, evaluation of your performance, if you mentally start accepting that this is part and parcel of the job. You have to understand that when you become a CEO of Times of India, or when you become an owner of a Times of India, or when you're the sports editor of Times of India, or when you're the captain of a national cricket team, when you are at the highest level, it doesn't come easily. The most important thing is about accepting the situation and then trying to work for it. Because you must remember in life that if you don't do it, somebody else will. So you got to accept that and move on.
Yes, just as you said, the numbers. When I was doing my homework yesterday, fished it out from the Wisden. He scored. The weight of those and the emotions attached to it, I think that was very special.
Yeah, also what it does is, when you play with the best, and I was fortunate enough that when I played, I had the likes of Sachin, Rahul, VVS, Anil all around me, and in world cricket, when you looked around, they had superstars. You go to Australia, they had Steve Waugh, they had Glenn McGrath, they had Shane Warne, Mark Waugh, Hayden Langer. You go to South Africa, they had Smith, Callis. You went to Pakistan, they had Wasim, Wakar, Saeed Anwar. You went to Sri Lanka, they had Sanat Jayasuriya, who would wake up for breakfast and hit India every morning. He was so good against India. So you had Aravind De Silva. So you had so many champions around the world cricket. And when you walked into that system, you realize that, hey, listen, I have to lift myself up. Otherwise, I will look as someone, an odd person among this elite group. So it was also because of self-esteem and self-pride that you had to lift your game. I am a firm believer that in your journey to success, in your journey to become good at anything you do, it's important that you have successful people around you. I've always said that when you play or when you work at a level which is higher than yours, you always get better. Or when you're working or playing with people who are of a lesser ability and lesser standard than you, your game or your capacity works to that level. So being in a circle of successful people, being in a circle of hardworking people actually makes you a better professional. And I think that's very, very important. So all of you here who feel that, your boss puts you under pressure, all of you who feel that my colleague sitting on the chair or the room next door is an MD and I'm not in that profile yet, you must sit back and talk to yourself, hey, that listen, I am fortunate enough to work with people who are better than me, and actually they're going to make me help become better. And that's exactly what happened when I played. I used to open with Sachin Tendulkar in one day cricket, and the initial part of my career when I used to walk to bat, when I just started my career in 95, 96, and he was already a stalwart then, and he asked me to open with him in Jaipur against South Africa. The first thought which came to my mind, hey, listen, I'm playing with the best in the world, so I need to be up at the other end doing as much as he does, because I don't want the people to say that it's a mismatch, that Tendulkar and Ganguly was a mismatch. And so I had to work harder. I had to go and bat for a longer time in the nets when it was quick. And when somebody like a Brett Lee or a Shoaib Akhtar bowled at 90 miles an hour and you were scared of getting hit, being blown away by pace, you would speak to yourself and say, hey, listen, look at the man at the other end. He stands up and gets behind the line with enough time. So even you can do it. So actually in your journey to success, when you have somebody who's good, as good or even better, it actually helps you to become better. And it's important that that instead of saying a lot of us, and I'm not saying most of us, a lot of us feel that यार he is good, वो तो अच्छा ही है, हम हमारे जैसे ही रहेंगे. That doesn't work. Now you have to look up to him and say he's brilliant. He deserves where he is. It's a challenge for me to raise myself to that level, because in professional life you just don't want to be ordinary. In life, in business, in sport, it's either you move forward or you go back. There's nothing called stagnant. If all of us feel that I've reached a level and I think I will manage to stay at that level for a period of time, you will only go down. Now you have to find ways to keep going forward. You have to find ways to keep getting better. You have to find ways to take risks to keep going better. Because if you don't take risks, you will not survive. When you talk about business people, a lot of people think that I'm going to invest so much money. What happens if I don't get things in return? What happens if my business does not work? But when you look at the other side, when the likes of the Ambanis, the Jindals, the Tatas, they've also started from scratch. And they've also taken those risks of huge investments and deposits and the sleepless nights of worrying whether what I've done in my factory, whether people would accept it, whether I would get back what I put in, whether I would whether I would be able to fund my bank loans. But at the end of the day, when they get to that circle, at the end of the circle where they manage to do that, they just become better people and better businessmen. So actually going through pressures, going through risks may be a little difficult, but at the end of the journey, it actually makes you much stronger. You improve, you become better professionals and better human beings.
Well, all I can say is that you were certainly not a mismatch in that partnership, though Sachin, as you people always maintain, you, Dravid, Laxi, they all said that, Sachin was on a different planet and you people were there trying to look up to him. But that partnership...
they say Sachin was on a different planet or Kohli is or Steve Waugh was. I'll tell you a small incident in Australia. We were playing in Melbourne and I was captain of the team, and we had a fantastic series in Australia in 2003. I got 100 in the first test match in Brisbane, and Dravid Lakshman got 100 in the second test match in Adelaide, which we won. And Sachin wasn't scoring runs. So as Australia finished their innings at the start of the Melbourne test match, and we were walking off the field, and we had about 40 minutes for the game to come to a close in Melbourne on day 1 or day 2. So Sachin walks up to me and says, he used to bat at 4 and I used to bat at 5 in test matches. He walked up to me and said that, hey, listen, can you for today bat at 4 and I bat at 5? I agreed. I agreed because I understood where he came from. He wasn't scoring runs and he wanted to come back tomorrow morning because those 5-7 minutes in the evening before the close of play are not the best time to bat as a batsman. Now, the reason I try and say this is because, at the end of the day, you realize that, hey, listen, the champion's also is human. He has his lack of belief on himself. He has his tensions. He has his pressure. It's not that he's different from you. He's just worked a lot harder. He's just had a lot of faith than somebody else has had. And yes, the Almighty has given him a bit more talent than the others. But he has the same pressures and aspirations and fears like you have. So then you realize that, listen, if he can go through this, it's not just you who goes through this. So if you work harder and if you probably start believing in yourself that you can achieve what he's achieved, you will get there. So as I said, the pressures of performance, the pressures of being successful is with everyone. The higher you go, the more it's going to become. It's not going to lessen down. So the choice you have to make in life, that whether I accept it or I don't accept it.
Similarly, when he was out of form, Sachin was out of form on the next series in Sydney. I think he cut out his stroke on the offside and played that. As a batsman, all batsmen go through these phases. I mean, have you personally ever felt that need to cut out certain shots to make it?
Of course. I'll tell you one thing as a sportsman or as a cricketer or as a batsman. The happiest time was only that evening when you got a test match 100 or a one day 100. The next morning, the next game, your nervousness and tension starts because you know that you have to live up to the expectations of people because they believe you can get hundreds. Your team's looking up to you, and it happens. You get nervous. There are times, I remember in 2005 when I was playing against Pakistan in India and wasn't scoring a run. The day before the last test in Bangalore, the test was the next day, and in the evening at 6 o'clock, I got so nervous because I wasn't scoring runs and I did not know where to get a run from. Anybody who bowled I thought would get me out. So I was resting in my room and watching television. So I just jumped out of my sofa, put my running shoes on, and I walked out of the hotel. We were staying at the Taj in Bangalore, the Taj West End, which was a fantastic property. So as I walked out of my room, I saw my coach, John Wright, and he said, "Hey, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going for a run." He said, "The test match starts tomorrow and you're going for a run the day before." I said, "I'm extremely nervous. I feel I'll not get past 0 tomorrow morning. So I need to go and relax myself, otherwise I will not get a run." So it happens to everyone. When you're not playing well, you just go through this negativity in your head. Michael Atherton once told me, he was playing a test series in South Africa and hadn't put bat to ball because Alan Donald just kept cleaning him up. He said that one fine morning I woke up and I said, I'm going to go to the nets and I'm going to bat for 6 hours. So his net session went on for 6 hours. And I asked him, why did you do that? He said, because I wanted to rehearse and I wanted to practice. And I wanted to make sure that mentally when I wake up next morning to bat for England and Alan Donald runs in at 90 miles an hour and bowls quick at me, I'm confident enough to say that yesterday when I batted for 6 hours, I did not get out even once. So every champion at different level will have his aspirations, especially when you play in a team sport. A team sport like ours where your fate is decided by somebody else. You have to be at the top of the game all the time.
You said that when you started off playing cricket at 13, you didn't have a care in the world. Everything parents look after you. Tell me, when you became the Indian captain, well, you knew you would be captain someday, one day. But the circumstances and the way it came to you, you were already vice captain on a couple of tours. Were you ready for it, or how did you handle it? Because you went on to take to captaincy as something you don't prepare like that.
When till the time I was captain, I never thought that I would become captain because I had the great Sachin Tendulkar in the team who was captain. And nobody expected him to step aside and not want to do the job, especially captaining India. And India has a history that 90% of the vice captains never became captains. It had a history. So I was in that circle, And I was scared that, okay, good, the selectors have made me deputy to Sachin in 1999 on the tour to Australia. And quietly, one of my friends who was in the team, I think it was Javagal Srinath, who probably did not have the best heads in the world. So he quietly came up and told me, moment I got announced as vice captain, he said, "Congratulations, Sourav, for being vice captain. But you know, I've seen the stats. 90% of vice captains never become captains of India." So I said, "That's the reason you're a fast bowler and I am a batsman." And so, so I never thought that I would captain India, and then when Sachin resigned at the end of the tour in Australia and said that he wanted to concentrate on his batting, obviously it was given to me, and I remember my first team meeting in Cochin, and it was 50 degrees almost hot at that time in Cochin, and I was going into the team meeting, and as I walked into the room, I saw Azhar, Sachin, Anil, Rahul, Jadeja, all who have been captains of India. And Azhar must have been captain for more than 100 games. And I was supposed to address all of them and decide how India would go and play the next morning against South Africa at Cochin. Trust me, I did not know what to say. Before going to the meeting for half an hour, it was a rehearsal in front of the mirror. He said, "Now I'm going to speak this, I'm going to speak this, I'm not going to make it too long because the longer it gets, the more I have to talk. I don't know what I will speak with all these people and I don't know what I will tell Azhar to play or Sachin to play. The quickest way to do is announce the team, wish everyone best and organize a team dinner." So I called the manager up and said, "Let's keep a team dinner at 6:30. The team dinner was not important. Important was that we have to leave at 6:30 and I have to finish at 6:30. So my first team meeting was, I entered the room and I said, "Thank you for having faith in me, blah, blah, blah." I don't remember what I said. "This is the team, all the best. And if anybody has to speak, you speak." So the meeting ended. But with time, obviously, as I captained a lot more, I became a bit more confident and started deciding things because I realized that if I don't, the selectors might say that, we have a captain who doesn't know how to captain. So get rid of him and have somebody else. So everything is a challenge. You learn. Nobody comes in this world perfect, but you got to be alert to the situation, and you got to be very critical with yourself. I'm not saying critical, but I would say you need to judge yourself at various stages of our life. When you get to the top level, when you become successful, you have people around you who would say, "And everything's fine. What an innings you've played. Never mind, the form would come back. You're leading the side brilliantly." But if you have to be growing and if you have to improve, it's important that you analyze yourself every week. The best thing, what one of the great Australians said to me, and I would name it, it was Ian Chappell, not the brother Greg Chappell, because he was not the easiest person to handle. But Ian Chappell said, "Saurav, when you captain for India, when you go back to sleep in the night and put your head on the pillow, you must be honest to yourself and say that I have done what I could do the best. You're not captaining for your teammates, you're not captaining for the media, you're not captaining for the critics who will actually find a hole in everything what you do. The only way you can be a relaxed, a better captain is that when you are on your own, you should be able to speak to yourself in the night that I was asked to do the job as captain of India today, and I've given everything what I could." I think that's the only way to go about the job, and you have to analyze yourself, which is realistic. A lot of people say that when you get to the top, you have to be grounded. By being grounded, it does not mean that you don't express yourself, or you don't be happy, or you don't enjoy yourself. When they say that you need to be grounded, the meaning is that you should know exactly where you stand as an individual. And I think that's very, very important in life, very, very important in your journey to be successful. Because the easiest thing in India, when you're a captain of the national team or a successful player of the national team, is the entourage around you, people around you who make you feel you are the best all the time.
But a batsman, when he's out of form, he can go to the nets, he can call on a coach, he can go to see the videos rectify his flaws. But captain has no such luxury. I mean, he learns every game. Like, how did you make that big leap from being the captain to a great captain?
Well, I never thought that I would want to be a great captain one day. I had certain beliefs. I was fortunate enough to have a good team. I don't think any captain in Indian cricket had the luck to have batsmen in the side of the caliber of Sehwag, Sachin, Rahul, and VVS. If you look at that generation, which went on to play for India from 96 to 2011, and all of us played together during that period. All of them have gone on to play 100 test matches. Whether it's Sehwag, Sachin went on to play 200 test matches, Rahul, myself, Anil, VVS, which just shows the longevity of players. The longevity of players and how good they were. I don't think any cricket team in the world, in any generation, has had top 6 or top 7 go on to play together for 100 test matches.
The only unsettled part was the wicket keeper and the fast bowlers keep changing.
Yeah, because the fast bowlers get injured quite a lot. If you look at Zahir Khan, who came in that generation, he went on to play almost 90 games. So I thought he did a wonderful job for himself. But the fast bowlers keep getting injured quite a bit. So it just, as I said, it just speaks about how good they were. So when I became captain, as I said, I was fortunate enough to lead such a wonderful bunch of players, because at the end of the day, cricket is a team sport. At the end of the day, running an institution, running an organization, it's about the men around you. And that's where the real challenge of a captain lies, is about identifying the people who you work with. It's about identifying the people who you work. Once you identify and believe that the people who are with you, or the players who are playing with you, are good enough to deliver, because that's most important. As a leader, you have to be convinced that you are able to marshal a team of players who can win you cricket matches, because a captain alone doesn't win cricket matches. So in your journey, or in your endeavor to become a champion or a good cricket team, it's about the people who you have, the players who you have in the team. Now, once you have those players, and once you believe that X or Y or Z is somebody who will take this team forward, you have to find a way to take the fear of failure away from individuals. Because all of us have fear of failure. The reason Sachin that evening in Melbourne asked me to bat at number 4 for the last 10 overs instead of him was because he had that fear factor in him. That if I fail, what happens? So I think as a leader, if you want to create a group who delivers for yourself, you have to take that fear factor away. It's when a young player goes into bat, or a young player goes into bowl, and I've always believed in that. A lot of people ask me that, why did you ask Sehwag to open? What made you feel that Sehwag will be successful? I had no idea that he would be successful as an opener. But when I looked at him, when I looked at a young player playing, I felt that, and I went and told him a number of times. I said, I don't want to see somebody like you with the ability sitting on the bench. And nobody comes here with a guarantee that he's a born opener, he's a born number 3, he's a born number 4, or he's a born number 6. And I said, we will give it a try. We will give it a try for you as an opener. If you fail, it's a guarantee from me that you'll come and bat again at number 6, because you're doing a job for the country and you deserve that support. But I personally believe that you can play as an opener as well. And he changed the way batsmen played at the opening slot for the next 10, 11 years.
That's how you handle the youngsters, and it's an amazing thing, because your Hindi was not as good as then is now. But how did you put up with these pranksters like Harbhajan, Yuvraj?
You dealt with them. They were young boys. When Yuvraj came in. He was a 19-year-old boy, even less, I think. That's what he said. Because everybody who comes from the northern part of India say, I'm only 18 or 19. So he was an 18-year-old boy. Harbhajan Singh was a young boy. Virender Sehwag was slightly different. He was a bit more reserved. He was a Jat from northern India. So I had to deal with a lot of people from North India who are a bit different. And you didn't expect them to behave like a 31-year-old. Because they're a young boy. I said to one of my selectors, I said, listen, you don't expect an 18-year-old Yuvraj Singh to read a Bhagavad Gita every morning. He will have a life. He would want to go out. He would want to be the best dressed, because that's what a young boy does. Just be focused on his cricket. Just see how much runs he gets, how he is when you put him on the park, and how he reacts to pressure. Don't look at other things. And I think he responded immensely well. I can't say many things here because it's a literary fest of a media group. So you know what's going to come tomorrow morning in the newspaper. So I have to be very little bit reserved to what I say. You want young players to express themselves. You want young players to have a freedom. Only when you let somebody go, you will be able to pull him back if he's not being able to deliver for you. And the likes of Sehwag, Yuvraj had that freedom. They could come up to me and say anything they wanted. And because you wanted them to have a faith on the captain, saying that, if I am in trouble, the captain or my leader or my boss will bail me out. If I am in trouble, if I go and tell him, he will not ask the manager to book the flight next morning and send me home. So that sort of faith and understanding and belief you need to create among your players. Because I firmly believe that once you start getting the trust of the people who you work with, you will be able to actually give them directions and make them do what you want. But at the back of their mind, if they start disbelieving in you, if they have different ideas about the way you go your job, you will never be able to get the best out of them. Because at this level, everyone fails in life. For all of us here who work with corporates, with their own business, you must understand that everyone will fail. But the champions fail a lot lesser than the normal. And when you look at Sachin's career, he must have played how many? 440 one-day games for India and 200 test matches, which is about 640 international matches for India, which is a phenomenal number. He's got 100 hundreds. That means the remaining 540 matches has not been what is expected out of Sachin Tendulkar. Because I have seen, when every time the great man walked out to bat, the country just expected hundreds from him. Sachin walks in, it's like a magic wand. He'll play everyone, get 100 and win a test match or a one-day game from India. Exactly how it happens in a Bollywood film. The hero always wins at the end. But Sachin never had that. So the biggest challenge in your journey to success and handling pressure and becoming the best in whatever you want to do is about managing failures. More than managing successes, you have to find a way to manage failures. I'll tell you something. One famous Bollywood actor, who was a very dear friend of mine, and we were involved for a long period of time together as a friend, said something which I still remember every day in my life, Sumita, is that he said, I came to Mumbai, I didn't have anything. I was not a part of the Khan's family who automatically got entry into the film world. My father was not already into the film industry, so I was, cuddled into stardom. I came in and I stayed in a single bedroom flat with one of my friends. I could not dance like a Hrithik Roshan. I could not be as flamboyant like a Salman Khan. But I used to wake up every morning, stand in front of the mirror and say to myself that, whatever ability I have, whatever God has given me, whether I'm short, whether I'm ugly, whether I'm long, I will be the best with whatever I have. And I think that's a very important criteria to success. Every individual is different. When I played with Sachin, a lot of people asked me that you've opened 200 games with Tendulkar. What did you do? I said I played like Sourav Ganguly and I let him play like Tendulkar. If I would have tried to play like him, I would not have had the 50% success which I've had as an opening batsman. So I think all of us here in this room, in this beautiful lawn, have special abilities. No two individual can be the same. But all what we can do is that be so good with what we have that we overtake our weaknesses, because everybody has weaknesses. Somebody played well through the offside, somebody played well through the onside. I captained a side where everybody had different characteristics. Sehwag, when you sat with Sehwag, the worst time to sit with Sehwag was when he got out as an opener, and you were padded up at number 4 or 5 and sitting next to him on the chair. He would sit on the chair and watch a Dravid batting or a Tendulkar batting, and he would say 4, 6. So I asked him one day, I said, Viru, what do you do? He said, you see, he left the ball outside the off stump. That should have gone for a 4. So I used to tell him, you please go and sit in the change room because you finished your batting. You don't eat my head up. You go because I can't bat like you and I have to bat. So then there was somebody like Dravid who came in, who was the most, well prepared cricketer you would ever see. You asked Dravid the night before the test, the jam, what do you want to do next morning? We called him Jam because his father worked in the Kisan Jam factories. And he woke up and he said, Sourav, I'll wake up at 7, I'll get ready, 7:45, I'll be at the breakfast table, I'll have an omelette, a banana, and as I go to the bus, I'll pick up an apple and go. And if you watch him in the morning, he will do exactly that. Dravid would be at the bus 5 to 8, ready for the test match. And there would be someone else, and I don't want to take names. You walk out of your room, you knock his room to make sure that he's awake and getting ready for the test match. So there are individuals who were different. Dravid was that gritty number 3 batsman. Then you had Tendulkar, who had his own ways of playing. Then you had VVS Lakshman, who would whip something pitched outside the off stump to mid wicket. And then you had me, who was only looking for deliveries outside the off stump to hit through the covers. So every individual was different, and you had to find a way to get all of them to succeed. And I think that's where man management comes in. In a team sport, in a professional environment, you have to be a good man manager because you have to understand that everybody is not the same. Everybody has to be dealt differently. But at the end of the day, your job is to extract the best out of the people who you work with, and you find a way to get there.
But apart from this, just tell me, there's a theory going around in Indian cricket that you are always the last when you are the captain. You are always the last to board the team bus. Was it out of design or with the privilege of a captain?
No, I made sure that everybody boarded with me because when you go to marriages, where do you see the father of the family last? To make sure that everybody's coming, everything's ready for the daughter and the wife. So I had to make sure that all the other 15 boarded the bus and then I boarded after them. So I made sure everybody went to the bus at the right time.
And when these youngsters like Harbhajan, Yuvraj and the likes, they would come and share things with you. They would.
Yeah, I have seen Harbhajan coming, pulling his t-shirt down into the coach. His tracksuit not tied.
Not in
you knew that he must have woken up, picked his tracksuit up, just pulled it up and ran into the bus because he was getting late. But you dealt with him. You knew that when you gave him the ball, it was a different cricketer.
So it was fantastic man management. I recall that in one of the places when we had won, they wanted to party all night, wanted you to go to the nightclub with them. You did oblige. But how did you, and you are not a nightclub person and
No, I am not a nightclub person at all because I'm a complete teetotaler. And I'm a very quiet, peaceful person. So they would go and I would accompany them, get horribly bored and then find a way to get back to the hotel and sleep. But then as a captain, it's a team thing. The best thing Indian cricket had, but it's a team event, so you have to go, whether it's a team dinner, whether it's a team sponsor, whether it's the team going for a party in the night. It's a team event. If you have to build a good team, everybody has to go. So we all had to go. So and it went so far that we had a coach in John Wright, and he was a fantastic human being. My relationship with him was unbelievable, and he used to play the guitar every day, and he was the worst guitar player you would ever hear. And a lovely man, a nervous man. Every time Virender Sehwag batted, he would open the freezer where all the soft drinks and water would be packed up, and he would look at the freezer. I asked him one day, John, why do you keep looking at the freezer? He said, I can't watch that idiot bat. I said, yeah, he's different from you because all your life you've defended and left deliveries outside the off stump. And this man just whacks everything outside the off stump. So, and he would play the guitar every night. I would ask him, John, why would you play the guitar? He said, no, I miss my daughter. I miss my son in the evenings of the game. I said, yeah, you play the guitar, but make sure you play the guitar only when we win, not when you lose, because that's the only time we can tolerate you. Because we have won and we are happy and we tolerate your guitar. Don't play on the days we lose and because it becomes intolerable. So he was a lovely man who actually handled the team very, very well. He was friends with everyone. He would get upset, he would get angry. A few beers in the night, John would become the John Travolta of Indian cricket. So you dealt with him, but you knew at the end of the day that that man felt genuinely for Indian cricket.
Your captaincy and your success, I mean, it's legendary. But was it more difficult? Did it also teach you to handle failure when you fail, when team didn't do well?
Absolutely. I think
How does it did help you to when things didn't go right?
you just had to find a way to deal with it. As I said a few minutes ago, that life is not just about successes. When you're at the top level, it's about handling failures. It's about your team not doing well. It's about you nicking a delivery from Glenn McGrath and getting out for zero. You have to find a way to get back, and the best find a way to put it behind, and that can only come with self-belief. You can fail, you can have poor days, you can have poor performances, but don't let the confidence in you drop. If you lose that, however good you are, you will never be able to come back. That's why they say that as an athlete, as a sportsman, you have to be bull-headed. As a performer, you have to be bull-headed. There's only one thing which must go on your mind, that come good, come bad, I have it in me to be successful. Once you lose that fight within, it'll be very difficult for you to survive at the top level.
What did you tell yourself? What did you tell yourself to bounce back? I mean,
I think it's for everyone the same, that just have faith. Just have faith and belief that you can do it. Also, one thing I've realized over my career as a player is that you become successful when you work the hardest. And I've seen that. I've played the best when I've been the fittest. I've played the best when I've been in a good mental space. So, amidst all your struggles and journey and your endeavor to become the best, you got to find a way to keep it simple. That how do I achieve that? Because there's so much things going around you. You're criticized, you're scrutinized, the people influencing your thoughts. I remember I was not scoring runs in 2005 against Pakistan. I had a lovely maid at home. She worked with us for 30 years and she's no more with us. She probably cooked the best meal you would ever eat. And I came back from the test series, hadn't scored much runs. And there was a lovely lunch put on my plate with rice and dal and chicken and everything. And as she kept pouring the food, and she said, you should eat a little less. I said, why? He said, oh, you're becoming fat and the running between the wickets have gone slow. So you get to, because I had got run out a couple of games ago, and she must have seen that on TV. So that's what you face when you are an Indian player or a captain, that the maid next to you, when she keeps putting food, she says that you don't eat this, don't eat that, because you're putting on weight and you're not running fast. So you have to go through that abnormalcy in your career, especially in a sport which is followed by everyone. But then, and the easiest thing was, I would have told him, hey, shut up, you're my maid and you just serve food. But I just kept quiet with respect, because of respect, and I just laughed at myself. I said, listen, she's also watching what you're doing. So it's about creating your own space of success. The best in the world. The first thing Sachin would do when he would enter a hotel at the peak of his career was say, don't put the newspaper under my door. Because invariably you put it, you picked up, you read it, somebody else is judging you, and you start thinking too many things. Is he right or am I right? So he would just cut off all the outside influence which would actually create a roadblock in his mind to success. Because he just went bull-headed, believing that every time I walked out to play for India, I would succeed my way. I would succeed the Tendulkar way, and he succeeded. So in your career of whatever profession, it's not about being disrespectful. It's not about showing your arrogancy to someone else or the people you are dealing with, but quietly in your own way, you create your own shell or own protective environment where your mind stays in the right space. And everybody thought Rahul Dravid was quiet, was gentle, but he was a tough character. You speak to him and you realize that what he does to be successful. He will not show it. He will not talk about it. He will walk past you. He will have his opinion, but he will not express. But quietly inside his head, he was so tough to succeed at the top level, and he created that environment. So it's about your own way of succeeding and own way of creating a space to succeed. Because as I said, everybody has different ways.
For a batsman or on an individual basis, I mean, it's very difficult, as you said, when handle failures. But for a captain, it is doubly difficult because when the team loses and you are not batting well, I mean, what is the harshest thing you have ever said at a team meeting or when things haven't gone wrong?
Has anybody watched the India-West Indies final against Zimbabwe in 2005? That's the harshest I have said on a field. When Carl Hooper just nicked one of Harbhajan Singh and it rolled on to Zahir Khan at short third man and he picked the ball up and threw it and Carl Hooper ran a single. So I said something which I won't be able to say yet. So if you can watch that video, you'll be able to understand that's the harshest I've said to anyone on a cricket field. And you know, sometimes you do out of you know, frustration, anger, you know, in your endeavor. And it was a final of a tri-nation. So at times you lose control, but then, and as I said, if the players have belief in you, they realize that, you know, they will go through that journey. If they don't, they will take things to heart. So I think at the end of the day, you have to create a working relationship with the people who you work with. It could be, it's about, the relationship could be love, hate, you know, affection. That's the only way you can get somebody to deliver the best for you.
Sachin, when you retired, Sachin said that made a very pertinent point that he thought that you were batting at your best, you know, Dadi. What is the best compliment you got from him?
Yeah, because, you know, I got dropped in 2005 for 6-7 months. I never knew actually I would ever play for India again. But then I came back and then I played for another 3 years and scored most number of runs for India. You know, my first double hundred against Pakistan came in Bangalore in 2008, I think. Yes, 2008, when India was 60 for 4. And Shoaib Akhtar woke up that morning and decided that I'm going to bowl quick. He doesn't do that very often. You know, a lot of the mornings he wakes up and feels that the best place to be is in the dressing room. But that morning he woke up and said, I'm going to bowl at 90 miles an hour. And he was just steaming in. And no, it was in Bangalore. Bangalore, and India was 60 for 4. We had lost everyone: Dravid, Lakshman, Sachin, Wasim Jafar, and then I got a double hundred, 239. So you know, I realized that I was probably batting at my best then. And the reason I will tell you, and I firmly believe that, is, you know, a lot of us, when we work and when we are in a professional environment, we have people around us. You know, we want our bosses to be kind. We want friends in the office room. We want friends in our group who would, you know, when you're not doing well, come up to me and say, hey, listen, you're there, you could do it, you have all the ability. And you always want to be in that situation and environment. You know, a lot of times you will see in offices, they say, let's create an atmosphere. Let's create a friendly atmosphere to work so that we can all work in a good space. But sometimes, and I've realized that over my career, that when the arm is not around you, and there are people who are trying to, you know, find a way of letting you go or disbelieving in you, you actually realize your best. You know, you actually realize your best because you get to a space where you realize that I have no friends, I have no support. It's all about me and my talent. When I walk onto that park, it's that bat and the ball, the bowler and me. Nobody can help me. You actually get the best out of you. Because you realize that your ability, your talent has to go to that next level, which will help you to survive because you have no support. And a lot of us get bogged down by it. There are few who will go away and say, you know, it's not possible to work in this environment. The people against me, the coach against me, the captain against me. You know, I will not survive. Let's give it up. You know, there are people who would say, okay, this is what it is, and I will work so hard, and I let my talent take over. You actually play better than you did ever. And those 3 or 4 years, when after I got dropped in 2005 for 4-5 months, and I came back, you know, I had 10,500 international runs when I got dropped. But the other day I was watching Virat Kohli when he got his whatever, 35, 36, one day 100, and they were showing the fastest to 10,000 runs in the history of Indian cricket. So I saw Sachin 259 games, I saw Ganguly 263 games. So it was just 4 games behind Sachin Tendulkar. And after that game, after that 263rd game, I never played one day cricket for a year and a half. I was dropped saying that I was not good enough in one day cricket and never played one day cricket. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes when the wrong happens, sometimes when you get not appreciated for your performances and you realize that it's you who have to take yourself out of this hole, you actually become a better performer, because you realize that there is nothing else which can take you through except how good you are, and you actually realize your talent. So sometimes being in that situation is not the worst, it's not the most unhappiest. Yes, you'll have a bit of sleepless nights, but by the time you finish that journey, you will realize that you've become a better person, a better individual, and a better performer at your art, whatever you're doing.
I think I'll correct you here. Partho is here. We were in Dhaka when he had a chance to do it in 2 matches earlier than Sachin, but unfortunately didn't get those runs. I mean, I think he needed about 50 or 60 more runs, and the record would have been the fastest to 10,000 ODI runs would have been his. But that happens.
No, because I got a call from Sachin saying that I am Sachin, the record should stay with me. So I said, okay, fine. I was blessed enough to captain 200 games, you keep that record.
Sourav, you have shared almost every aspect of your life, of your career, and which can be seen, or people can get inspired or take lessons from it. I mean, you must have been very hurt or sad to see Mithali Raj sitting out in the dugout in a World Cup semi-final.
No, I have sat out in the dugout after being captain of India. So when I saw Mithali Raj yesterday, I said, "Oh, welcome to the team." I said, "Welcome to the group where captains are asked to sit and take water. So just do it." I've done it. I've done it in Faisalabad. I've not played a one-day game for about 15 months when I was probably the best performer in the world in one-day cricket. So that happens, it happens in life. The best in the world are at times shown the door. But always remember that you were best because you did something good. And there's an opportunity again. So it's not the end of the world. So I'm not too disappointed seeing Mithali Raj being asked to sit out. I have not been disappointed to see the reactions on the ground. Yes, I've been disappointed that India lost the semi-finals because I thought India had the team to go the distance, and Australia won the T20 World Cup this morning. So it happens. As they say, there's no guarantee in life. Just do the best you can.
So it's no different in women's cricket as well.
I'm seeing that. Women's cricket has had a lot of importance over the last few years, and very rightly so. Very rightly so. And although women had always importance, other than that, playing cricket. So don't worry about just cricket. And so it's great to see that they've been looked after. They've been paid such good numbers to play cricket for the country. And you look at Harmanpreet Kaur. He hits sixes like any man. The other day I was watching him play. He got some runs against New Zealand, and he was whacking it into the stands. Those spinners. Harmanpreet Kaur, she got 170 in the World Cup semi-final last year against Australia. It's one of the best one-day innings I've seen. So it's so good to see. But then with Mithali, that's the way it is. That's an answer to your question which you asked me a few minutes ago. That you still finished when everyone said that you were batting at your best. You should always do that. It should be why rather than when.
So what would you tell?
Give him the mic. Give him the mic.
Very recently, Rahul Dravid has been included in the Hall of Fame of ICC. So while we just see all these things, when you took up the captaincy of Indian cricket team, when you were at the peak of your form, and just post after the cricket scandal and all this thing, and after that, your form actually progressively declined by maybe due to the
Get your mic closer.
Maybe due to the pressure. So I think, this is my opinion. How do you think that had you not taken the captaincy, okay, you would have lost a very great captain of Indian cricket, but would you not have been included in the ICC Hall of Fame? I mean, you would
I
have,
don't think.
I believe that you would have ended making lot more
More runs.
test centuries, lot more one-day cricket, one-day centuries.
Yeah.
That is my analysis.
Yeah, only the first answer to your question is I don't think Rahul Dravid will be the last person to be inducted in the ICC Hall of Fame. There will be a few who will
Yes,
happen
yes,
in the years to come.
I believe that you will be very
Secondly, I agree with you that I could have played a lot better, but being captain was not an excuse for some failures which I've had during that period. You're entitled to score runs. You're entitled to score runs when you're captain of a team. Virat Kohli does. Steve Waugh did. You look at Joe Root of England; they do it. So I don't think that's an excuse. And as they say, in life, you don't get everything. You get some, you lose some. So that's the way it is.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Hello,
Hello.
I am also Ganguly. Ashim Ganguly. Before you took over as Indian captain, India team played provincially. I mean, players were used to play as per their province. Okay, but I want to know who is the main person. Is it you or someone in your family who changed the body language of Indian team?
My family can't change the body language of Indian team.
Who gave you the thought? I just want to know who gave you the thought. Just that.
It was my thought because if I wouldn't have, they would have kicked me out. So I had to survive.
No. There were many captains like Kopil, Gavaskar, and many others. Bishan Singh Bedi, and
Bishan Singh Bedi's body language is always positive, even now also.
at that time, India team did not play very well as it was when you took over.
See, if yes, see, I have a great friend in the crowd. So, that's why you asked me to speak today. If I was somebody else, you wouldn't have asked me to speak.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So they're just taking the one conversation
Welcome,
forward.
Dada.
Yeah, he's got another
Come
question.
on, okay.
Welcome, Dada. This is Ravi Shastri, a great fan of cricket.
Your name is Ravi Shastri?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And it's named after him only. Means we both share the same date of birth, 27th of
At least
May.
you smile at me. Hey, I'm just joking, huh? If anything wrong comes out, I'm going to catch Sumita. It's a Sunday morning. Everybody should laugh because there's lovely lunch. If anything wrong comes out, I'm going to put tweets after tweets saying that it's all rubbish.
No, Dada, we are proud of you, and especially the aggression and all which you brought to the Indian team. I guess, do you see Virat Kohli? I see some of your reflection in Virat Kohli. And Dada, an add-on question. For 2019 World Cup, what would be your advice and your team? And about Dhoni and about his Dhoni's future?
I
How
think
do you see?
your first question is about Kohli. I think he's a phenomenal player. And look at his numbers. And that's the way it is. Aggressive. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and India needs a captain like that. For whom winning means everything, which is so great to see. And I wish him all the luck. He's in Australia at the moment. There's a game today, the last T20, which will decide the series. Hopefully he wins it. Coming back to MS Dhoni, another champion. Look at his record over the last. He's played in 2005, and it's 12, 13 years. Winning the World Cup, winning the T20 World Cup. A fantastic cricketer. Just like everyone else, he has to perform. See, there is one must in life for everyone. Whatever job you do, wherever you are, whatever age you are, how much experience you have to keep performing at the top level. Otherwise, somebody else will take your place. So MS Dhoni, I wish him all the luck. I still feel he can hit the ball in the stands. He's a fantastic cricketer. I still remember Mr. Pervez Musharraf telling me in Pakistan in 2006 कि यार आपने इसको कहाँ से लेके आया? So I told him he was walking on the Wagah border. We pulled him towards India. So he's such a phenomenal player, MS Dhoni. So I wish him all the luck because you want champions to go on a high. Whenever he goes, And the 2019 World Cup team, it's too far. I'm not a selector. I really don't know, but I expect 85 to 90% of this team to play in that World Cup.
And especially playing overseas, I guess you were phenomenal, and you were the one who brought that. Means while playing overseas, you are still regarded as the architect, bringing the aggression and all. So how would you rate current Indian team? I mean,
Very good. Indian cricket is always strong.
Best in 15 years.
That the other Shastri said. Okay, so Indian cricket will always be strong because you see the passion. You go on a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning in states like Bombay, Kolkata, Bangalore. You see the number of kids on the back of a motorbike or walking with their parents with kid bags heavier than them to play the sport. And it just happens because of the want to play the sport. The infrastructure of sport in this country in cricket is the best in the world. The facilities, the stadiums, the grounds, the number of cricket, the way it's organized, it's probably the best in the world. So this country will always produce cricketers.
especially in Australian conditions, I guess the Australian tour is on right now.
Yeah, I think this is India's best chance to win. India's best chance to win in Australia. I've played against some champion Australian teams, and most of them have been phenomenal. I remember playing against Steve Waugh. He used to look through you on the morning of a test match. And the best thing Harbhajan said to me when he was a young Harbhajan and coming from Jalandhar, he said, Paji, सबको out कर दिया, अब 7 number पे Gilchrist क्यों आता है? So I told him I'll ask Steve Waugh because Gilchrist had the ability to get hundreds. This Australian team is not right up there. They have weaknesses, they have holes because every team go through it. When you're at a rebuilding stage, you don't find champions all the time. I think India has a great chance of winning.
And especially the kind of sledging which you used to respond in your
Sledging. Virat Kohli said no sledging in this tour.
So we
Okay,
have
great.
almost
It's an
at the
honor
end.
and privilege,
Excuse me.
Dr. Dada,
Excuse me.
God of
Thank you.
offset.
Thank you.
Yeah. We almost come to the end of this program, but before I end it, I just would like to end on the Australian tour because there's a game today. The recent Australian CA appointed committee brought out a very pertinent report saying that winning at all costs was the Aussies' way is no longer acceptable in Australia. What do you say to that?
Winning at all cost should be the way. That's the way you play the sport. Nobody wants to go there and lose. But even in your endeavor or in your journey to the tag of winning at all cost, you can still behave. You can still do the right things.
By not crossing the line.
Yeah, and a lot of champions have showed it. You take a Dravid, you take a Steve Waugh. When Steve Waugh probably led the best Australian team ever in the history of cricket. And I have not played against such a team in my life. And they had this attitude of winning all cost. Yes, they were tough on the field, but they wouldn't cross the line. So winning at all cost is fine. And as I said, in your journey to do that, you can still do the right things. I don't see any problem.
They said it's not acceptable. So do you see Australia playing any differently in the series?
How can you play differently? Because when you play to win. You don't play to lose. So I don't see how differently they can play.
Well, but not tampering with the ball.
Yeah, they have to be careful of that. Absolutely, very careful of that.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and a big thank you to Sourav. He has practically touched on every aspect of what you could have possibly asked and wanted to know from him. Thank you very much.